Grand Concourse 149th Street station in the Bronx, graffiti writers gather at what they call the writer's bench.
What's good, what's good, what's good? Live from the writer's bench, it's your man Kill. Got two of my soldiers on deck tonight. We got Bees on that. What's going on, y'all?
Peace.
What up, what up? Yo, on maybe 2 or 3 shows ago, we was chopping it up. I was saying how my man Q on Twitter had shouted me out and was like, asked me one day, like, yo, dude, you even like West Coast hip hop? And I'm like, damn, man, why you say it like that? Like, and he was like, man, all y'all ever talk about on the bench is East Coast hip hop. Really, all you tweet about is East Coast hip hop. You know, he'll send me some stuff, and I'll be like, nah, I don't really know nothing about that. So, you know, a legitimate question, I can see where he's coming from, but I had to explain to him, like, look, fam, you gotta understand, I'm almost 41. You know what I mean? When I was coming up, those formative years of hip hop was all East Coast hip hop. You know, NWA really didn't drop till '89. I'm a sophomore in high school. You know, so all the hip hop I grew up on, loving since I was 8, 9, 10 years old was all East Coast hip hop. So it's not like it's no hate towards it, but it's just that that's my lane. You know what I'm saying? So we wanted to do a show. We had done a show before with my man Andreas. Shout out to him on some West Coast stuff. But wanted to do another West Coast show. We had a couple of people saying like, yo, we want to see that West Coast show. So we're going to give you the West Coast show to show love and let it know it's no beef, it's no nothing. You know, I ain't got nothing. But when Q asked me, I probably ran down 10, 12, 13, 14 MCs and groups that I love from the West Coast. So we're going to start that off today. Yo, Ev, just to clear the air, how are you with the West Coast? Any beef, man?
Nah, beef. Nah. I don't think none of us have any beef with West Coast hip hop. I mean, if anything, to me, I think if I think back, I was trying to think back to the probably mid to late '90s is when I got more into what was going on out in the West Coast, because the West Coast got a lot of MCs, and I lived out there a couple of years ago, and what I learned is that is a lot of people migrated to the West. A lot of MCs and independent artists migrated to the West Coast because the West Coast had a better crowd. You know, you could really like go out there as an independent artist, especially in hip hop, and survive, and you know make some type of living out there. But so as far as the West Coast goes, nah, man, to me it's a lot of dope shit out there. But I think it's one of those type places where you really got to be there to really know everything that's going on, because it's so many people and it's ever changing.
Right. What about you, Big?
I mean, it's kind of like same thing you were saying in the beginning, man. For me, my first intro to West Coast hip hop, I mean, shit, man, I was at least 10 years into hip hop, more than that probably. You know what I mean? I started listening to hip hop from before Rapper's Delight. You know what I mean? When Super Rounds by Jimmy Spicer and shit like that. So when the West Coast started popping, it was a different sound. I wasn't in love with it for the most part, because you know a lot of it reminded me of like, and it still does to this day, this like turn up shit that like old Mantronics, Soul Sonic Force sound of music. So it was like when I first started hearing it, it was kind of like, well, this is what niggas was doing shit 15, 20 years ago, late 70s, early 80s. So it took me a minute, but my intro wasn't just NWA, you know what I mean? It was before that. Mm-hmm. But when they came and started hitting with that, with that hard sounding drums and shit, like some East Coast, just the beats, you know, never mind the samples, but just the beats, it definitely opened things up to my ears or whatever. And I heard like some Too Short and shit that I liked, you know, like him live. He used to open up for I think it was LL back in the day. He said he did a show in Cali and Too Short opened up, and he like the crowd went nuts because, you know, it was in Oakland. But because of that, LL like started taking notice of him, and that was the first time I had heard of him. LL doing an interview talking about him. So then I tried to do my own little research, and I don't even know how. There wasn't no internet around back then, but I started hearing some Too Short and shit like that, and Digital Underground or whatever.
Yeah.
And MC Akomp's Most Wanted, you know, them type of DJ Quick. So I was familiar, but it wasn't really until NWA started blowing that it's like, oh, okay, that I really started feeling it. But I was already onto it, though. I was already feeling it or something. Not all of it, that's for sure.
Right. So since we're all East Coast dudes, we're all a little bit older, I'm always telling these young cats who watch the show or who I chop it up with on Twitter, you know, '89 is not like 2015. Like Beazle said, there was no internet. All we literally had was the source. And unless you had a cousin who lived on the West Coast, who, a shorty or somebody to call you, it was, everything was word of mouth. So you got to understand that for us, it's no hate, it's no, we're just, to me, I'll speak for myself. If I feel like I have an expertise in hip hop, it's definitely East Coast. I tell my man Mills, I got holes in my hip hop game. I don't know nothing about the Midwest. You know what I mean? Was never a big Ghetto Boys dude like that. So, it's almost like, in Beazle, how we go back and forth with sports. It's almost like how you bring in Tim Legler. He's your NBA analyst. Like you don't bring Tim Legler in for no NFL stuff. You bring him in for the NBA stuff. When the NBA is off, you don't see Tim Legler. So I just feel like that's what we represent. But again, it's not like I don't love the NFL, love it to death, but the NBA is my thing. So we're going to just jump right into it. So, I want to know, what is your favorite West Coast hip hop album ever? What is your favorite joint and why? So, Beazle, why don't you set us off? What is your favorite West Coast album ever and why?
It's funny because of all the questions you posed in that email, this was probably the easiest one for me. It took me all of maybe 30 seconds to come up with the answer. And the Cypress Hill, man. That Cypress Hill album.
The first joint?
The first one. See, the album was self-titled, Cypress Hill. But I went back and listened to it again just to make sure, this was the one. Dog, how I could just kill a man, hands on the pump, hole in the head, the Funky Feel one, something for the blunted, and of course, Stoned is the way of the walk. I mean, woo! Now, obviously, there's a lot of references to smoking trees in them songs or whatever. And at the time when that album dropped, we was in Morgan, you know what I mean? And, I'm not going to incriminate myself, but it was definitely a very foggy, cloudy days and nights, back then and whatnot. So I could relate. But the thing I liked about them was one, I liked the fact they was Chicano, you know what I mean? They're not even just Puerto Rican cats from the Bronx making hip hop. It was like bringing another culture, into hip hop. And over the years, just in digging and sampling and whatnot, I started getting into the style of looking for styles of music that I didn't realize that Chicano, they love some of that shit, that old soul music. It was a certain type of old soul music. And I started recognizing and realizing, damn, these are songs I heard West Coast dudes using and whatnot. And I just like the original songs. But that album, I mean, the minute I put it on, man, and Stoned is the way it walked, that joint starts, it's just the memories start flooding, you know what I mean? It's spotty because my mind was a little cluttered back then by other things, but that album just, I knew cats that wasn't into hip-hop at Morgan that loved that album. I knew Yardie cats that didn't listen to hip-hop at all that loved that album. I'm sure a lot of it because they was talking about trees, but it was just everything about it, though. It was the right time, right place. Like I said, some Chicano cats from Cali who was saying something that I could relate to. That was my issue with a lot of dudes from outside of this area. You know what I'm saying? I couldn't relate to their life, man. I wasn't a gangbanger. You know what I'm saying? There wasn't gangs back in our day. There wasn't no Bloods and Crips running around New York and Jersey, and I'm sure Philly back in the mid-early 80s and whatnot, and 90s. It wasn't like that. Now there is, but not back then. So everything about that joint, man, that's my favorite of all. There's other ones that came close, but like I said, man, the minute I thought about it, it's there's too many joints on there for me, just too many.
Yeah, Cypress was dope. Cypress was definitely dope. I mean, the biggest thing I remember about them dudes was I just loved the production. You know what I'm saying? Like Muggs, and I think, a lot of cats sleep on Muggs. I mean, I don't think he's had a crazy big discography as a lot of the other producers that was out in the early 90s or whatever, but Muggs definitely had some shit. So Cypress was definitely dope. Ev, what you got on tap?
To be honest, man, that's a really hard question because, and I just want to say this, when we talk about West Coast, I just want to make clarity. West Coast is a big ass coast. So you got the Bay, you got LA, you got San Diego, you got in between LA and the Bay. You know what I mean? So it's a lot of different styles. That's like saying New York and Atlanta. It's gonna be two completely different types of styles will come out of that. So
you know what? That's a good point that you make.
Yeah.
Whenever I hear West Coast hip hop, I automatically zoom in on LA.
Right.
Whenever you hear East Coast hip hop, you automatically zoom in on New York. So
Right,
you have to get that, like that whole Bay, like, you know, I think you had said that a couple of weeks ago when we was talking about doing the show, and I was like, damn, I kind of gotta look a little deeper than what I was really looking, because I was just thinking LA. So that's a good point you bring up too.
Yeah, so just
Don't
to throw
forget
that out.
Seattle too. Oh, don't forget Seattle, like Sir Mix-a-Lot and stuff
Yeah,
like that.
exactly,
Yeah, that's
exactly.
definitely West Coast.
Yeah. So I mean, to answer your question, it's hard, Kill. Like I was a huge Cypress Hill fan, the way I was a Black Moon fan, and I kind of wanted to go back because I forget what year that album came out. So I'm looking it up, bro. 91.
91, yeah.
Yeah, 91. So you know, I was a big fan of them the way I was a fan of Black Moon like that. Even though I think Black Moon didn't come out to maybe a couple years later, a year or two later. It's hard, man, but I was a big King T fan too. Like, you know, the Trifling album, that shit was ridiculous.
That was the only cat I had too. That's what I'm doing.
King T joined the Trifling album. That was like one of my first introductions, and that sent me into the Alcoholics, which is like. So for me, it's like, you know, I got the Alcoholics, I got King, I got Cypress Hill, and, you know, I can't front on Q.
And Farside.
Farside was later. I guess I'm going by like what got me so hyped to really send me out that way, and to have me digging for different sounds out in, you know, in the LA or in the Bay Area. It's hard to say, man. I would say I got three, but I can't tell you which one is the best. I might go with Cypress Hill too, only because I played that album to death. But Cypress Hill wasn't I think King T might have been the first cat that I was really like messing with like that in Cali. And then I might have got Cypress a little bit later, but Cypress style was so different. And, you know, the beat was just stupid. It was like nothing I've ever heard before. So I might say them, but then I can't front on Q, but that's a whole nother story. You start talking about Q, you go down the path with that. So for right now, just to give you an answer, I'll say I'm stuck between Cypress and King T, because that was like, between them two was probably my real first introduction into like West Coast music.
Now, forgive me for my ignorance, but who was Q?
Q, Ice Cube.
Oh, Q.
Q. Yeah.
I thought you said Q like Q-Tell. Q. Word. Oh my God. Yeah.
Nah, Q. Because I wasn't a big NWA fan, but I was a huge Ice Cube fan. So when NWA came out, I was on my Brand Nubian shit. So I remember me and my man, he had Brand New, I had NWA, and I was like, yo, you want to trade? He was like, yeah. So I walked away with the Brand Nubian joint. He got NWA, and you know, he loved it. But I loved Brand Nubian back. So I kind of went that way. But when Q went solo, yeah, that was a whole different story for me.
All right. And for me, my favorite album, man, this like you said, Beazle, yours was easy, mine was easy. NWA Niggas for Life, man. This album right here, you know, I mean, everything from the artwork, from like the cops killing them and they spirits coming out their bodies, like, yo, every track on here, Real Niggas Don't Die, Niggas for Life, Appetite for Destruction, Real Niggas, She Swallowed It. Oh man, probably one of my favorite joints was the I'd Rather Fuck You joint, where they used the Bootsy joint. Yo, I can remember.
Yeah.
The days of way back being the last joint was crazy. That could have been the first single. You know what I mean? That's how dope that track was.
Approach the Danger was crazy. And I think what I loved about this is, I always talk about Primo and Beatnuts and all that, but yo, not for nothing, this was probably the first album that really made me really start thinking about producing, because it was like, when you put this album in, and I remember at Morgan, my man had, you know, we used to have a little 5 CD disc changer. And like, you know, it was going from like one album to the next. And when this joint came on, like you could hear that Dre was so sonically above everybody else back in 91. Like you had to turn the volume down, because it was just like this album was so big. And I mean, those beats, and I just always felt like Dre was like the West Coast Bomb Squad, like the way he put his beats together. Like it'd be so much stuff floating around in it, you know. So yeah, definitely that Niggas for Life. This was what, 91, 92. I remember going to proms, blasting this, and I just remember cats driving up and down my block and through the neighborhood in Philly blasting this joint. So definitely NWA Niggas for Life, man. What'd you think of that joint, Big?
Yeah, I mean, yo, What can't you say about that album? I mean, that was number 2 for me. That was like, if Cypress Hill didn't exist, it would have easily been that joint, no question, hands down. And then probably America's Most Wanted by Ice Cube right after that. But that joint, it was a game changer, man. It was like, I remember being back and forth between New York and Baltimore at the time, and that was the first album, West Coast, straight out of Cali joint, that I could remember, like, real cats from New York finally giving it up to West Coast niggas, like, okay, this shit is dope. You know what I mean? That was the first one that I had seen. You know what I mean? Because that was out, what year was that out? Because that was before Cypress, wasn't it?
That's 91, same year, so I don't know when it dropped, but 91.
But it was like, I mean, damn, that's crazy for West Coast when you think about it. That them 2 albums dropped in the same year. I don't care if it was, one was January, one was December. I mean, damn. I could see how Cali took over hip-hop for a minute. You think about that between Cypress and them cats, and then you had the MC8s and you had King T's, but that's them dudes, man. NWA, you can criticize them for their narrative. You know what I'm saying? They hold niggas with attitude, you know, fuck the police and the violence and the guns and all that. But it worked because it was real. You know what I mean? It was real what was going on in parts of Cali and parts of Compton, LA, and all that other shit. So as a black dude, even if you wasn't going out there banging and busting guns, you could still relate to what they was talking about, how they felt. You know what I mean? Like, you all felt at some point, fuck the police. You know what I mean? You could relate to that shit. You know what I mean? And a lot of them songs, man, you can relate to. No matter where you
I want to change mine. I'm going with the Alcoholics, 21 and over. Because that was a mix between Midnight Marauders and the Infamous.
Wow, that's a dope album.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go with the Licks, man. I'm gonna go with the Licks right now. That's my shit. Because
I can't argue with you with 21 and over, man. That takes me back to, I think, the Greek and maybe 92, 93, and we banged that the whole weekend, like the whole weekend. It was just like, damn, at the end of the week, it's like, damn, we don't listen to the Alcoholics, like a West Coast group the whole entire Greek picnic weekend in Philly. So, and one more thing about Niggas for Life, I think one of the things that really did it for me was the fact that Cube wasn't on this album, you know, because it was like, you know, with Cube leaving, that's almost like, that's your main lyricist. You know, that's like how I always tell people about The Wire. To me, The Wire got to be the best TV show ever, because you done killed off Stringer Bell and put Avon in jail. Season 4, you brought in a whole new cast of people.
Still,
you know what I mean? You kill off Tony Sopranos, they go to Sopranos. So it's like they literally lost their best lyricist. Imagine Tribe losing Tip and then going on to make an album. To me, this is better than Straight Outta Compton. You know, so imagine Tribe losing Tip and then coming back to make an even better album without him. Like Jarobi and Phife just stepped their game up. I mean, you know, even though we know Dre wasn't writing their rhymes or whatever, you know, except Ren, but DOC, all I can say is this incredible album, and they did it without Cube. Like, that was the kicker, because I really thought this follow-up album without Cube, I was like, oh, I don't know how this is gonna be, you know what I mean? But they killed it without Cube, and that's no small feat by any means. So
you just brought up another name I meant to mention. I have it written down there too. The DOC, man.
Yes, sir.
That nigga's first album.
The only reason why I didn't say DOC is because he's from Texas. So
right.
I didn't want to get, you know, caught up with, you know, a lot of people love Corrupt, and I'm like, Corrupt is from Philly, you know, so that's the only reason why I really didn't go in with DOC.
That's where you from is where you at.
Yeah. Okay, bro.
I would have put DOC ahead of any of the ones that we just mentioned, either Q, Solo, this one, the Alcoholics, or Cypress. But that DOC first album,
no one can do it better. Is incredible, man.
Yeah, that was dope, man.
Incredible. You know, that was dread as well.
Yeah, that's it.
Way he did Funky Enough, man. It's like to take that Silver's joint, and he didn't soften it up. Yo, that shit was the way he was rhyming that voice, son. And then it's like, come on, man, how ironic. It almost seemed like a conspiracy, man. If this nigga was that dope, he had the ill voice, he gets into a car accident and his vocal cords get damaged. Like, come on, son.
Yeah.
That's like a bad movie shot or something.
Yeah, that's
come on, man. It's like how all
that's almost on some Derrick Rose stuff. Like, again, like how ironic, but not. Talking about DOC, let's go straight into the next question. Who is your favorite West Coast MC ever? Ev, you're the lyrical MC on the bench. So who is your favorite
That's
MC on the West Coast?
you can't be asking. That's like, man, you
I
can't.
thought you were saying like now.
Like now, yeah, you can't say ever.
Ooh.
Dog, I sent the questions out. Did y'all niggas not read the questions?
Yeah, but I mean, it didn't say ever.
Yeah, it didn't say ever. It didn't say.
So I figured
All right,
out.
you know who is your favorite? Well, y'all want to do right now? I mean, shit,
How about
it's
I give you both, though?
everybody.
I could give you both like my first like this nigga. That's my ill. To me, he was one of the first ill Cali cats for me that I ever heard. And then I got my dude right now, who's also my most slept on cat. But for me, my favorite dude is MC8, man. Now I can't sit here and quote mad lines from the nigga, but now don't get me wrong.
You're saying MC8 is your favorite of back in the day?
The other cats. I mean, Cube was that nigga. Don't get me wrong. Cube was that nigga, and the fact that him and Ren was writing pretty much all the NWA stuff, and then DOC after Cube left was writing with Ren. But it was something about MC8, man, where it's like, now there's no disrespect to anybody from Canada that hears this, but when I listened to NWA with Cube and then right after Cube, and even with DOC, I felt like they decided, we got to incorporate something from the East Coast into our style in order to get universally accepted. You know what I'm saying? But with MC8 and Compton's Most Wanted, and even DJ Quick, the thing I loved about them is they always stayed in that Cali West Coast style of hip-hop sound. They stayed in that lane. And MC8, man, the way he would spit, man, was he just came off like an OG that was kicking knowledge to you, man. You know what I mean? And I've always respected my elders, and I've always, family barbecues as a kid, shit like that. I was always gravitating to the old heads because I want to hear the wisdom from the old heads. That's always been kind of my steez. So to catch that MC like that, if you had that kind of aura or feel about you, I just automatically gravitated to that. Something about MC8, man, it just made me feel like, I could relate to this dude. And again, like I said before, that how I relate to an MC and his music is what's going to connect me to the dude more than how ill he is and all that. But if I can connect with something that you're saying that you're about, and MC8 just did that for me.
All right, so who's your dude for right now then?
Fashion.
You saw the thing I sent you?
Yeah, you know what though? I watched that today. I decided Fashion like a minute ago. I had a whole convo with my mans about Kendrick and them, and like, Kendrick is getting all the shine. Kendrick's getting all the love, but to me, he ain't the dopest cat in they crew, man. I'm sorry, to me, and I don't know Fashion how much he's down with them, whatever. If he really is or not, I don't even know. But just for like them younger dudes coming out of Cali, like Ab Soul and the rest of them dudes, to me, Fashion is the nicest, man. And then watching that documentary, it just validated everything I was already thinking about the cat. Like, he just seems so authentic and so real. I can say that to an extent with Kendrick, but it feels like now that he's become almost a pop artist, he's delving into other things that the pop audience can relate to. And again, like I just said, it's like it's losing touch with me. But Fashion, man, I mean, because I first heard him on first took notice of him on a Raekwon mixtape. I forget the song. The beat was dope though, and I'm like, who is this cat? And I went back and read the credits, and I started hearing when Kendrick started blowing up and started hearing all these West Coast niggas. I went back and started looking at some of his stuff and pulling up his shit on YouTube. And I'm like, y'all can spit. I don't care where you from. Fresno, Cali, Bronx, Queens, the nigga can spit, yo. And he's nice. Yeah. Word up. He's nice. Kendrick to me sometimes goes too left field with it. He's nice, but I don't think he's as nice as Fashion.
No, I got you. So who you got, Ev?
All right, I got 3. As far as a cat from back in the day, I'm gonna say Cube. I was a huge Cube fan. I thought Cube was just. I thought he was a dope MC. I like what he did. I went with Cube even when he went with the Lynch Mob. I was out there with Gorillas in the Mist. That was me. I was out there. I banged that shit. I turned it up. But so Q was my man on the underground. So we go a couple of years later. We just speed up a little bit. I'm gonna say Planet Asia. A lot of cats don't know Planet Asia, but I say Planet Asia. He's solo artist, but he also did some Cali Asian stuff. I think the dude is like, he reminds me of Pharaoh, but he's not Pharaoh in any kind of way. But he's nasty like that. So Planet Asia. If you say today, I can't agree with my Mrs. My Man, but I got to go with Kendrick. I think Kendrick, I actually like what he's doing right now. The fact that he is so popular, but what he's writing about right now, I really tip my hat. I think the dude is just nasty. Now listen to Fashion. The Fashion was cool, but he didn't move me. His wordplay doesn't move me the way Kendrick does. Like what he says in between bars don't do it for me the way Kendrick does. And to me, like, I like Kendrick on the cameos. I like right now I'm the only album I'm actually really waiting for is Kendrick Lamar's second joint. Well, I shouldn't say second because he got a bunch of joints out, but whatever this next project is that he's putting together, this is the one that I'm really waiting for, because the last two times I've seen this cat perform on SNL, on Steve Colbert Report, he just killed it. So Kendrick Lamar will be my cat for today.
All right. And for me, I guess the funny thing in hearing y'all do that, I think the hardest part about the best West Coast MC ever is, and it's no disrespect to them, it just seems like there's not a lot of longevity out west. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like when you look at, if I gotta say ever, I gotta go with Cube. But when you look at the bigger picture, Cube has had out, if you include the Killer Will EP, he's had 12 albums out. Whereas only 3 of them have been dope for me. You know what I'm saying? So same thing. Some cats may say Snoop, but really Snoop only had that really one first album that was really crazy like that. So for me, I guess I'll do like y'all did. I'm with you, Ev. Cube was my man. America's Most Wanted was crazy. And I think that was just how dope NWA and Cube was, because the same way everybody was saying, what's NWA gonna do without Cube? Everybody was saying, what's Cube gonna do without Dre, with the beats and everything. So, Cube did what he had to do, come over to the East Coast, got that Jerry curl juice out, got him an afro, and went in with the Bomb Squad and started doing what they had to do. No, he got the Baldy first. I'm sorry, the Baldy came before.
Muslim too.
Yeah, but got down with the Bomb Squad and got laced with that album, and Death Certificate was crazy too. And but right now, I'm with Bezo, man, for sure, man. Every time anybody asks me who got next out west or who got next period, I'm like, yo, for sure, man. For real, this dude is a monster, man. Like with Kendrick, I love Kendrick, and I'm with you on that Steve Colbert Report song. That was bananas. The joint that he actually won the Grammy for, I thought that was whack, with like the whole Isley Brothers thing. I felt like that was some old behind the scenes, like how that became like one of the theme songs for the NBA. I'm like, out of every damn song y'all could have picked in the world, you picked that. Like,
I feel the performance made me like the song.
Oh, okay.
Which is rare for me.
Yeah, like for me, it was just when I heard that, it was like, yo, new Kendrick song. I'm looking it up online. I'm like, and it's one of those things that I've always wondered. I'm not saying you, but I'm saying the masses. Are we just cats so engulfed with Kendrick Lamar, like this nigga could do anything? Because to me, that I song was one of those anything songs. Like, great message and everything. But I'm always with rappers with great message with a dope beat. Like, just sampling that Isley Brothers joint. Again, coming from Good Kid, Mad City, I don't know where that is. And even with this new joint, Black of the Berry, I mean, it's cool, but the buzz that it has, I feel like it's just Kendrick. Like, I feel like literally, Evan, you sounded just like Kendrick, did that same song, and it was produced by me and Bezo. I don't think the net is losing their mind over Black of the Berry, that the way they are, because it's Kendrick.
That's the problem, and that's the problem. That's because I think that's the problem with hip hop in general, man. It's like we get sucked in by the machine. You know what I'm saying? Instead of what we used to get sucked in by, which is dope production, dope rhymes, and that's why word of mouth was the iller way to get your music, which is kind of how, and I know you mentioned it too, Kill, like the idea that I'm not necessarily going out looking for the hip hop no more, because if it's dope enough, it'll find its way to me. Between everybody that I mess with in hip hop and all my peoples, I know if it's that dope, it'll make its way to me. And it's like Ev, it's funny because that song, you heard you liked it because you saw the performance. I heard it and I didn't like it, and then I saw the performance and I said the same thing, like, well, why of all the songs, why this one? Like, he could have came with anything off of his first album and would have fit better than this shit.
But the funny thing is not just for the album, but the fact that it won a Grammy.
Yeah, that's what's well.
On top of that, the NBA is gonna say this is gonna be one of our.
Well, that's why, because it was Grammy nominated and all that other shit. And that's, I mean that whole Grammy shit. I've had whole combos with people about that. I don't to me, a Grammy means about as much as a wet napkin. It means nothing to me. I'm not out there being nominated for them, but I get tired of black folks always wanting these white award shows and these white certifications to validate what we're doing. Damn that. And don't complain when the bullshit gets the award. It's like, yo, they've been at it for how many decades now? What you expect? You know what I mean? You're never gonna get the real Fashion ain't never gonna win no Grammy like that unless he does some commercially pop song from some movie or something. But that Black of the Berry joint, I had heard about it, but it was when the last time we was up here afterwards and y'all was talking about it, and you said you didn't like it. So I got one cat telling me he loves it, and you telling me you don't like something. I gotta hear this shit. So when I listen to it, I kind of, it's like I'm not in a place where I'm getting beat over the head with how dope it is. I'm hearing two totally different opinions. One's dope, one's saying it's whack. And
I know I didn't say
not whack. Pardon me, not whack. Not whack. But
I wasn't feeling it.
Pardon me, not whack. Right. But it wasn't as dope as everybody making it out to be. So I'm kind of in like an in-between space, so I can just kind of listen to it with an unbiased opinion. And doing that, I'm like, okay, I like the beat. I like what he's talking about. I like that song. I like it way better than that other joint. I'll tell you that for sure.
I'm gonna strongly disagree with y'all. Only because, like, I think the fact that you get that one, I think the cat's lyrical ability is really, you really can't question it. Even if he's talking about something that people ain't really feeling. I think the fact that when I first heard the I joint, I thought it was whatever. But when I seen this performance, I think to me, and I'll say this, I think as an artist, as an MC, I think Kendrick is changing the way that we view MCs. The way the idea of what it means to be an MC, I think he's doing what Rakim did and he's doing what Nas did. I'm not comparing him to Rakim and Nas because he's his own person, he's his own man. But I think the idea of what it means or what an MC should portray, he's changing that shit around. And I saw that in his performance on the SNL when he did I. Because the same thing, I was like, oh, you doing this song? Okay. But that song is not just about the lyrics, it's not just about the beat. If you watch his performance in that song, all that is part of that piece. All that his and I really can't explain it. You really got to just watch it. Whole thing.
Let me ask you this: if you never saw the performance, you said your first reaction was like whatever.
It was whatever. It was alright.
All right. So you don't see SNL. We're not having this conversation.
But I do see SNL. That's what I'm saying. That's how it changes because now it's because video is real. Everybody there's video, and the performance, the stage performance of something. If it makes me like the song, that means they're doing something on stage. It's more than just getting on stage and being hyped. Because he's one person, he's one man on stage. So when he did that performance, I really kind of understood a little bit deeper what he was talking about, and it's in his physical motion. So for me, that was one of the things that I really dug on, and the fact that you're talking about something that's highly unpopular. And to me, it's funny because I thought Cass would start falling off of Kendrick because now he's talking about more. He's coming from a more political angle, and anytime you do that, you lose a lot of people. For whatever reason, even if you're talking about black politics, you start talking politics, you start talking about, black people, standing up and uprising, people just start falling off like leaves in the fall. But so I expected that to happen from him doing that, but I was surprised that he actually made that decision to actually go in that direction. So when he did the Black of the Berry joint, when I heard that, I thought that was dope. When he did the Steve Colbert joint, I thought that was dope. But don't get me wrong. When he did what's the cat's name? Pusha T. The cameo he did on that verse is ridiculous.
He killed it.
But I wasn't questioning his lyrical skill. I think we all in agreement that Kendrick.
That's crazy. I'm just saying.
Talking about MCs though, right?
I'm just saying after Good Kid, Mad City, after that drop, the Pusha drop. Around that time, that was one of those.
It dropped after that.
After that. But what I'm saying is, what he has dropped himself, I wasn't feeling and I'm just not feeling Black of the Berry. I mean, it's all good, Yeah,
it's all good. That's a personal opinion. But I mean, if you ask me about like what's my favorite MC and why, I'm talking about MC. I'm talking about lyrical ability. I'm talking about how all those things go back into it. How you write it, how you put it into the beat, how you ride it, what you talking about. And for me, it's even more with him because I'm like, okay, you're at this level. You're not expected to talk about these things. If anything, it's your sophomore album. You're supposed to go more in that direction if you're trying to be quote unquote pop. So I even question that whole concept of, oh, Kendrick's kind of pop. It's interesting because he's a pop artist that's not trying to be pop, and I think he's showing that by everything that he's doing.
Well, see, I don't know. I don't know. That's not the vibe I got from that song.
This is Kendrick piece, but the only reason why I personally I wouldn't say pop. I just think that single "I" was very pop-ish. That wasn't what I was expecting. That's not what I was expecting coming from.
Because again, I didn't see.
That's literally like when Nas dropped "If I Ruled the World." Like, I was not ready for "If I Ruled the World" coming off of Illmatic. There's no way in the world I was ready for "I" coming off. Let me ask you a question. Did you see the SNL performance? Nah, I didn't. You gotta watch the performance. That's all I say. Like, you have to watch because I felt the same way. When I heard it, I was like, it's cool.
That's what I'm saying. But getting back to that, would you sit in your whip on a 2-hour-long drive and bang that song just with
Now, after seeing the performance, because I have a better understanding of what he's talking. Like, it's not even like what he's saying. I have a better understanding of what the concept of that song was about. So yeah, I play it now because after seeing that, and this is what I mean. I'm like, yo, this is kind of chick. Because I've never not liked something and then seen the performance and all of a sudden like, oh, I kind of dig this shit. No, that's never happened for me. I'm not that kind of dude. Like, it don't matter really what you do on stage, but the fact that he brought some type of theatrical to his performance is like, yo, you're kind of changing the way that MCs are viewed. Now it's not just about like writing a verse down and spitting it over a beat. Now it's like, what is like this whole idea, this whole concept? And to me, I feel like he delivered that at the SNL performance. And I was like, oh damn, he went there with it. So I'm like, yo, y'all just check the joint out. Whenever y'all get a chance, check it out.
I think I'll check it, but I think the hard part for me is I've always just been that first impression person for 90% of music. You know, like, there are times I'll hear a song and I'm like, yo, that song is whack. Then I'll be in a club and I hear it and I'm like, I see what's going on in the club and that makes me like it. So I'm always just like, if I didn't, that's why I was saying, there are certain songs I like just because that sounds good in the club or it sounds good there.
Let me ask you a question. You ever see a movie trailer and the first trailer you see, you're like, it's cool. Then you see another trailer and you be like, oh, this shit might be kind of dope.
To be honest, I've never really seen numerous trailers for movies. Usually I'm in the movies, I see the first trailer and that's that. So I'm not
the longer version of the same trailer or a shorter version.
Something like that, but I'm not used to seeing. So, but that's cool. I'm gonna watch the SNL joint. Like I said, the joint he did on the Colbert Report, crazy. And I think that's the thing. And and Bezo, I want to shout you out for this because, and we'll get into this later. Listening for Sean's album, Bezo, you told me something once that you feel like I listen to music, I already have my expectations for it, and that may ruin it. And that I just need to go into it just with whatever you're presenting me. That's it. So I'm actually doing that because I listened to Fashawn's album the first time and I was disappointed. Not necessarily with the lyrics because y'all know me, I'm listening to the beats first. And I was really disappointed with the beats, but I said, you know what? Let me not, coming off of Fashionably Late with Alchemist, that's a whole nother thing, but it's almost like I just wasn't, the Exile beats ain't hit me, but I'm like, nah, I went into it expecting this. Let me kind of rewind it back and just listen to what he's giving me. And I think it's the same thing with
that's not first impression. And Kill, your first impression, you wasn't really feeling it, right?
No, I agree. But that, like I said, that's always been me. But then listening to what Bezo said to me one time on the show was, Kill, you do that because you go in with expectations of what you're expecting this person to do. And he was saying he doesn't do that. He just goes in with whatever this person presents me. That's what I'm a graded off of. So,
so I have to challenge that. So with that being said, when you first heard Fashawn, how do you pronounce his name? Is it Fashawn? It's just Fashawn. It's not first. When you first heard the Brothers album, you wasn't feeling it. You thought about what Bezo said. You went back into it with a different frame of mind, and you came out with a different understanding.
Well, I haven't gone back into it. I listened. It just dropped on Tuesday. I listened to it. I haven't gone back to it. Like,
so right now, your opinion of that album, you're not feeling it.
I'm not feeling the beats. Nah. Now again, y'all already know we've done this. Like with
I'm gonna say, and that's my problem with that I song. I can't stand the production on that I song. I
lost in the drum and the hi-hat.
If I can't feel the beat, it's hard for me to now listen to the lyrics. So before I just diss Fashawn, I'm like, well, let me go back in and see if I can sit here and separate the two. Because that's what I can't do. It's like Baltimore half and half. You pour half the lemonade, half the iced tea. I can't go back in there and get my lemonade out. It's all blended together. So if I don't like it as a song, it's hard for me to now, if I'm not feeling the beat, it's hard for me to then be like, okay, let me not listen to the beat and just listen to what this cat is spitting, because
I'm the opposite of that. Like, even if I'm not feeling the beat, if the lyrics are dope, I'll gravitate more to the song because the lyrics are dope.
And again,
I'm more like chill with
I think that's because you're an MC. You know what I mean? I think that's one of the differences. It's not a shock that I'm like, yo, I listen to the beat first, and if the beat don't grab me, I don't rock with it, and I'm a producer, and you're the opposite. You know, you're like, nah, I don't care about the beat, I'm listening for the lyrics.
Nah, I care about it. I'm a beat head.
You know what though, Kill? You know what's funny? Because
put that aside.
You know what's funny though, Kill? Is like, as a Rakim fan, like, and same thing, I wasn't a producer back then. You know what I'm saying? I was actually writing rhymes. I wasn't an MC, but I was writing rhymes back then, more as a fan of Raj. But when I heard songs like Chinese Arithmetic or whatever, you just name a whack beat off a Rakim album, I would listen to that song, but it didn't affect my impression of Rakim as an MC, because I'm like, well, that's the beat. He's the MC. I'm listening to him. But now that I've produced for all these years, it's like now the first thing that's going to pull me in is the beat. And that's why that I joint didn't do it for me. But my thing is this, Ever, with what you were saying about seeing the show and that made you like it more. This is the thing I've always had about like coworkers. I used to always say this shit, like, and I meant as a no disrespect to any former coworkers that ever watched this, but I would always ask myself, like, yo, if I didn't work with this cat, would I even know him or ever speak to him walking down the street? And if I can't say yes to either one of those, like, would I know him? Yeah. Would I fuck with him like that? Like, that's my man's? Nah. Then you know what, dog? Ain't no reason for you to be calling me on Saturday or my day off. Ain't no reason if you need my cell phone number, because if we wasn't here together, we wouldn't be rocking with each other. So it's like, if you can't get me with the production, when I first sit down and listen to it, if you don't get me with then, it's going to be hard for you to pull me back in later, because it's like, I guess that's that first impression thing, like, nah, dog.
I have to challenge that too, because if that was the case before you did production, you would have a completely different perspective of how you listen to music.
No, but that's why I just said with Rakim, it was more like that. It was, I was listening to the MC
but the
more.
difference from then to now is you have adapted that as concrete. Like, okay, it's got to be this.
Here's why. I've done that more so out of necessity, I feel, to be honest with you, because
why necessity?
My attitude has always been, I don't care where the artist is from. I don't care who the artist is. I don't care any of that other stuff. This dude used to smoke crack, and he used to rape his moms. If he's making hot beats now, it's a hot beat. I don't like that dude because of what he stands for, but this beat is dope. So I've always tried to just remove all them other, the hype, the airs, the this, the that, blah, 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 blah. But I had to kind of, like, it's almost like a defense mechanism, because what was happening was, when I used to have that mentality, cats would tell you, man, I used to be the one, you come to my crib, I'd have everybody's album on cassette. Everybody. Even if it was just, I like one song, I just bought the album because, yo, I like that joint, and I want to have the whole album so I can have more representation of this cat as an artist and his music, because I want to hear his shit grow. But as I've gotten older, as the music has changed, as the production has changed, as the styles have changed, as the dopeness has changed, the inability to put an album in and just sit back and let it ride and not have to fast forward nothing, all of that stops about 10, 15 years ago. So because of that, yeah, then the game changed. So I had to change my shit too.
So let me ask you a question then. Y'all like Billie Jean without seeing Mike do the moonwalk on stage? So if you never saw the moonwalk, you feel the same way about Billie Jean.
You forget, I'm 44 years old. I heard that song well before I ever saw Mike moonwalking.
So you telling me Mike doing a moonwalk at that performance didn't hype that song up more for you?
It may have hyped it up, but the thing is, I think for me, it's like kind of what Bezo was.
I know Mike's talking about influence. That's influence.
Right? Mike might be the best example.
But I already like it. You know, Ev, here's a
great Jackson 5 shit.
Did you have to see the video? And you know what? I won't say this. I'll say for me. I didn't have to see the video for Scenario to like it. I didn't have to see the video for Check the Rhyme to like it. I didn't have to. So that's why I'm saying we came up in the era where I'm spoiled. I don't have to have well, if you didn't see this, then now when I heard Low End Theory, it was dope without seeing any other videos, and it just made it doper seeing the videos, but I already liked it. It didn't have. I wasn't like, yo, check it out.
No, but no, that's like taking me from saying I thought it was whack to I'm banging with this song every day. I'm not saying it's not drastic of a turn. What I'm saying is that it was okay when I first heard it. When I seen it, I understood it more. So will I play it? If people ask, if I was out driving, would I play it? Yeah, I would play it now because I feel like I have a deeper understanding of what his message was.
All right.
So with that, I mean, that's still, but we're still talking about influence. There's still a certain level of influence by seeing more of an artist, like a different perspective, what the artist trying to give.
I mean, yeah, that's just never really. I mean, I'm sure throughout 41 years it's happened. I just can't think of it off the top of my head when I was.
Mike Jackson. Yeah, you was a little kid.
No, Mike Jackson is not a good example.
I understand, man.
Y'all seen this live. All right. Let's bring it back. Wait, let me.
Mike Jackson is not a good example.
Let's bring it back. Let's bring it back.
It's not like you wasn't fans of Mike before Billie Jean. You know, he was rocking with Mike before Billie Jean.
Like the song more. Motown 25. I was just saying it to you the other day. I want to get that video of that show of Motown 25, not just for Mike, but for all of it.
But mainly for Mike.
All right, let's go on to the.
I mean, y'all a little bit younger than me, but for me, Mike was already dope, so it didn't. I didn't need to see.
I ain't say you didn't like Mike. I'm saying when you seen
but those are two different things. You wasn't feeling I. You wasn't feeling I before.
No. See, that puts it. It was, to me, it was I. I wasn't like it was whack. I wasn't banging.
Okay, so it was I.
It was I.
Like, if you like it, you would bang it.
It was. I would turn it on. I'll play that joint.
All right, let's go on to the next.
Y'all want to hear it? I'll play it right now, yo.
No, thank you.
You're still gonna play some Joe Buttons, man. Don't do that.
All right, here we go. I'm gonna go with this one.
Wait, I'm sorry, Akil, 1 second. I'm sorry, not to beat the dead horse, but
here we go.
That's that one question.
You want to beat the dead horse because we
because I meant to ask you before, but I completely forgot. Ev, did you see that Fashion documentary yet?
Yeah, I watched it. I started watching. I'm gonna tell you honestly what happened. I respect him. I started watching it, and they played one of his songs in the background, and I was like, see, that's why I just don't gravitate to the cat like that. Not that he's whack. I think he's a good MC. I probably gotta listen to him some more, but I wasn't impressed by what I heard. Singing the story was impressive. I was like, wow. But when I heard the first song and they played it in the background, I listened to it. I listened to his flow. I listened to what he was saying, but I wasn't that moved by it. So I was like, all right, I'll come back and look at the rest of this later, because it was. I felt I was hyped because Kills in the joint. The email was hype. You know, I went to the link. I'm like, oh, this shit's gonna be crazy. I put it on. I'm watching the joint.
And that's the expectations thing. See?
Okay.
Got you.
I have expectations with everything. I got that with everything. I'm but I'm still gonna get the
joint. You gonna watch the trailer later.
I'll watch the rest of the joint later, but I wasn't that moved by it. I mean, I wasn't that impressed. It was cool, but it wasn't like, it didn't grab me like that.
All right, next question back on the West Coast hip. Now, for anybody who says we don't like West Coast hip hop, that's impossible. We just argued about the West Coast best MCs for the past 20 minutes. So there's nothing but love for the West Coast over here on the bench. Best producer out the West Coast, not named Dre. I'm going to go first. I'm sure somebody's going to take my pick. Alchemist, hands down. Even what happened? You said nah?
What?
You said nah, not Alchemist? You don't like him?
I like Alchemist. I mean, I knew you was going to say Alchemist. I'm just repeating you. Alchemist.
I thought you was
all time Alchemist.
Said something like, hell no. Like,
ever walk into a studio, Alchemist. I already knew what you going to say. It's a given.
Alchemist, hands down. This nigga is
Wait, is he from LA?
Yeah, he's from like Beverly Hills or something.
Yeah, I'm about to say, he's from the ritzy part of it.
Yeah, like, he went to high school with like the white dude on Hawaii 5-0, the dude who used to play on.
Yeah, he was in the group and shit. Yeah, James Caan's what's it? James Caan, the Sonny from The Godfather.
Yeah, something like that.
His two sons and Alchemist was in the group and shit back in the day.
Yeah. But Alchemist, man, like I always tell cats from 2000 on. Best producer, hands down. I don't want to hear no Just Blaze, no Kanye West. Alchemist, this dude, I feel like he's putting out an album every other month. Like, his workflow is bananas. And what I was going to say about the Fashion joint is that I put this out on Twitter the other day. I said, yo, for cats, if you going to start rocking with Alchemist, you better keep rocking with Alchemist. Because I'm thinking that may be one of the reasons I'm not feeling this Fashion album, because it's like, boom, that Fashionably Late joint with Alchemist, and then hearing these Exile beats. No disrespect to the boy Exile, but he ain't no Alchemist. You can't go. You don't give me the bring me up slowly. Give me a Corolla, then give me an Accord, then give me an Act, then give me a Beamer. You can't go from the Beamer back to the Corolla. You know what I mean? So Alchemist is definitely for me the best West Coast producer, not named Dre. Who you got, Bezo?
Well, it's funny because now I'm sure there's a bunch of West Coast cats rolling over their grave right now, like, oh, he reps New York, They ain't real Cali, but I've seen on a couple of boards.
I'm sure they are. But he's like
a couple of cats say Alchemist,
and he went back.
A couple of cats say Alchemist, and niggas be like, oh, fuck Alchemist. He reps New York. But I was gonna say Alchemist as well. You know what I mean? But I was gonna let you get that off and shit.
Best producer that ever walking in and out. Alchemist.
Fucked up. But I will say this: on some like Cali theme style hip hop, I'd put it's a toss up to me between.
Don't take my man. Don't take. Well, come. All right, go ahead. Don't take my man. I'm waiting.
Battle Cat. And the part of the reason I say them two,
who?
Battle Cat. You never heard of that cat?
Yeah, I just didn't hear you. Broke up for a second.
Yeah, Battle Cat. The both of them been around for a minute. I mean, I was checking their discography. I didn't even realize Battle Cat was doing joints back in the late '80s, early '90s and shit. You know what I mean? But one thing I'll say for them now, honestly, I've never been a fan of DJ Quick. I've never bought a DJ Quick album. I've never sit in my whip and listened to a DJ Quick song, you know what I mean, or in my crib, nothing. But everybody I know, and I'm not gonna act like it's a big circle, but everybody I know who fucks with like Cali hip hop like that, they all, I mean, the respect that Quick gets in the industry for his style of production and his knowledge and all that is unquestioned. So I'm gonna mention him more so on the strength of trusting the cats I know that always rep the dude. But when I look up the two of them dudes' discographies, Battle Cat had a number of joints that I did rock with, and both of them, Quiet as Kept, have done stuff for East Coast dudes and have done R&B shit as well. And they've been hot singles that have sold and done well, but still, like, you know, not just pop songs or whatever. But so it just shows to me that, you know, the dexterity in they styles or whatever, that they not just bent on the Cali sound. They can do whatever they want, but just like with us, that's their favorite style. But he's either Quick or Battle Cat. A real West Coast Cali nigga would have to differentiate for me the difference between the two, because I don't know both of them well enough. But if it's not Alchemist, I'll say it's one of them two.
All right, bet. Who you got?
Okay, here we go. I gotta get this out to this cat right here, because he's a true digger. From working in Amoeba Records, I've seen this dude many a times in there getting his records. To me, he's one of the illest producers, not just West Coast, but producers. My man Otis Jackson Jr., aka Madlib. I'm gonna go with Madlib. I think the dude is sick, super sick with it. I think he has so many different styles. The fact that he can go from straight hip hop production and picking up some instruments and not necessarily being a musician and doing a jazz album, doing a jazz a bunch of jazz albums, putting out a jazz group that's just him. You know, he got so many like pseudo Madlib, man. That cat is just ridiculous.
I'm gonna have to change my answer, man.
See, come on over, cuz. I'm telling you.
You know why? Because, like I just said about Quick and Battle Cat, I know of their production is more out of respect from other people talking about it, but Madlib, I know that nigga's work. that nigga's man. I'm sure if Grab was here, he would second that and third that, because he seems to love Madlib too. But yeah,
that cat is ridiculous. And in fact, you got jazz cats like, how did he do that? And he don't even play.
He's quite gifted. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'll say Madlib. Yeah,
cool cat, man. You see him, you always, real cool cat, real like soft spoken dude. You see him in the Amoeba every once in a while in the crates getting his dig on. But yeah, I gotta give it up to that cat, man.
Yeah, I rock with Madlib. I ain't never been a huge fan. I'm probably coming on around the ladder.
Because he ain't Alchemist. I know.
You know what it was? You know what it was? It was the expectation factor. Like my young boy Shy, when I was up at 88.9, was always telling me about Madlib. You know, I had the Lupac album. I listened to it. I was like, it's cool. You know, he cool. But goddamn, you hype this nigga up like he was the next coming of
Lupac.
What happened?
Lupac.
What happened?
You stopped at that album?
No, I didn't stop there. Like, so again, I'm just letting people know it's not that I thought it was whack. It's just the way my man was in my ear was like, I'm expecting something supernatural. It's like when my man Osei told me about Steve Francis at University of Maryland. Like, I'm like, damn, this nigga must be nice. Then I saw him play, and I'm like, yeah, that nigga's nice. So that wasn't my reaction with Madlib. It was like, oh, yeah, he could hoop. That's dope. And I actually went out and copped this. This is Yesterday's New Quintet first joint to Stevie, which is damn near impossible to find on CD. So I like some of this stuff. Some of the stuff I like. I didn't like the Quasimodo stuff. I think with Madlib, he goes in so many different directions.
Yo, man, look, ain't nobody shit on Alchemist. Don't shit on my man right now.
No, I'm not shitting on your man.
Ain't nobody say nothing about Alchemist. I let you fly with Alchemist. You got in the car, rode around the block
under the bus anytime you can. You got cats all over the internet like, damn, kill your NPC on the floor. I'm like, yo, what the fuck is going on? I got everybody on the internet.
Oh man,
like, yo, the ASR is made softly.
You asked about a favorite. Let me get my opinion on why I think Madlib is not that great. Ain't nobody.
You're right. Your choice is Madlib. I apologize. I keep the rest to myself. Fave slept on MC out of the West Coast. Who is your favorite slept on MC? Ev, let me go to you since I did.
I said it earlier. I think Planet Asia is probably my favorite slept on MC from out in the Cali area.
All right. What you got, B?
Fashion, man. Fashion. I mean, again, I'm a
little. Even though he's new, is he still pretty new, right?
Yeah, I mean, he might be new to us, but I think to the West Coast dudes, he's not quite as, it's that whole, that shit going underground scene thing. But yeah, man. Again, man. I mean, not to double up on what I said before too much, but I mean, I listened to him intently, and I just love where he's going with. He's just authentic, man. I'm not gonna use that abused term in hip hop. He's real. He's authentic. There's a difference. You know what I mean? Fake nails are real. You know what I'm saying? But they're not authentic. You know what I mean? Fake eyelashes are real. They're not authentic. You know what I mean? They're not really eyelashes. They're just created to look like them. You know what I'm saying? But that nigga, you can hear it in his music if you listen to him, and then seeing that documentary, it's like it really hit home, man. And like the fact that he got his mom's up there, and like you see she got issues obviously that she overcame, whatever. His uncle is on there. You know what I'm saying? He got his managers shedding a tear, talking about the struggle that he went through with his cat trying to get on and how determined he was. And I love that, man. I mean, to me, that's what it's all about, man. Kendrick, like I said, I think Kendrick gets all the shine. And please don't anybody take it the wrong way, me saying that. Like, I'm saying Kendrick doesn't deserve what he's, the attention he's getting. And I'm not saying Kendrick's not dope. Kendrick Lamar is a dope MC. One of the nicest of these young cats in the game right now, to me, without question. I put him, J. Cole, they dope to me. You know what I mean? Dope MCs. But I connect more with Fashion, man. What he's about and what he's talking about, his style, his flow. And one thing I will say, I love the fact that Nas signed him. You know what I mean? The fact that he's down with Nas. I love that shit, man, because I think that's what hip hop needs, man, is niggas like Jay Electronica in a perfect world should kind of be with Jay-Z. Just like Jay was with Big Daddy Kane and Nas was with Rakim. There's symmetry in the content, the flows and all that and everything they about. Kane was always braggadocious, Rob was always the mental intelligent shit. Jay's the braggadocious, Nas was always the mental intelligent shit. So for Nas to snatch up Fashion and Jay got Jay Electronica, I dig that, man. I think that's good for hip hop, man. I really do. You know what I mean? Because it's not like Nas he's done. You know what I mean? It's like his career is over. You know what I'm saying? He's still very much relevant. So for him to recognize that Fashion is that next dude, I think that's a good lane for both of them niggas, for Nas and Fashion, man. But yeah, it's definitely Fashion without question.
Yeah, for me, most slept on MC, I gotta say Tash from the Alcoholics, man. That dude Tash that was just my dude back in the day, man. Like I was always like, and again, no disrespect to J-Ro, because for a while, I mean, I could say the Alcoholics, both of them together, because J-Ro ain't no slouch either, you know what I mean? But it was always like Tash just had
his voice too, man.
He had that ill voice.
Oh yeah.
Always had an ill punchline. You know, he just always had that, you know, memorable verse or something like that. And again, I really could say him and J-Ro, because I was banging some alcohols before we started the show, and I mean, J-Ro's verse was just crazy as hell too. So, you know, I mean, after saying that, I have to say the alcohol, I put them both together. The Alcoholics, both them dudes are slept on, because you never really hear their names come up too much. Tash's solo album, Rap Life, that I was really waiting for, was a disappointment. You know what I mean? But you know, I don't think what was their producer's name? E Swift. I don't think Swift did a lot of that stuff for him, production wise. And it was, by the time it dropped, it was like 98, and you know how hip hop was changing. So I think if he would have dropped a solo album like back in 96 or 97, it would have been what I was expecting it to be. So yo, tell me this. When you think of West Coast hip hop, what's your dopest memory? Like, if somebody says West Coast hip hop, what do you automatically think about? What would you say about West Coast hip hop if you were schooling your son on it, or schooling your nephew, or schooling a young dude who's coming up in the game on West Coast hip hop? What would be like your favorite memory or your favorite, you know, thing to pass on about the West Coast? What would you say, Al?
You talking about back in the day? You talking about now? Just
in general. Like, what is your, like, you know, if I say, yo, what's one of my biggest things about East Coast hip hop, for me, it'd probably be Beat Street. You know, probably be like Wild Style. Like, that would be the first thing that comes to mind. That would be the foundation of me, like, just my first oomph of East Coast hip hop. What would your favorite memory? You may say, hey, when Cube's America Most Wanted dropped, I remember I left school and copped it and banged it for the next 5 months, you know. So what is your favorite West Coast memory or something like that?
I think actually it might have been Cube's second album and the Jackin' for Beats joint that dropped around that same time. I think just coming from a person that, again, I wasn't a big NWA fan, but seeing him step off from them and then, you know, step into his own manhood, and by this time he was talking about other things. Than what the first NWA album was about. But I think seeing that, and then, you know, just seeing him everywhere, seeing him with PE, like, you know, I think his travel when he stepped off from NWA and his travel around as a man, to me, just like, you know, just was able to go and stand on his own too and do what he had to do. I admire that about him. So I think for me that was probably my biggest thing, is just Cube's whole like beginning experience, which just, to me, was dope. It's real dope.
What about you, babe?
It's hard, man. I'm sitting here racking my brain trying to think of a singular moment or whatever, but I almost can't. It's like if I was trying to school like my daughter, you know, she's 2 now, going on 3, you know, some years from now, if I had to school her on, you know, West Coast hip hop, I think I'd have to do it more on a whole, like where it was to where it is relative to East Coast hip hop, because, you know, where it was, and even your man from Cali that sat in on the show, he even said it, like those MCs from that we grew up on, I guess you call it that, from the West Coast, wasn't real lyricists. You know what I mean? It wasn't very lyrical. You know, like even Snoop, you know, he just always spelling his name. Cube and some of the cats we all mentioned here, Cube and Ren, and like I said, MC8, King T, I think those cats were some of their first like lyrical dudes that I think made it to the East Coast. You know, if you want to put Pac in that group, I don't know, whatever, Oakland, Baltimore, wherever you want to pick his town he's from, whatever, repping. But to where it is now, where I do agree with one thing you said about Kendrick, Ev, in terms of, I think he is changing the narrative, and I think that's the appropriate word for where the West Coast hip hop, the narrative of West Coast hip hop has altered. When it first came out, it was all about the gangster NWA style, the King T's, you know, Far Side and people like the Alcoholics were, you know, the more fun side of like the Cali rap. You know what I'm saying? Alcoholics was a little bit harder, obviously, than Far Side, but, you know, they would just be so crazy with some of their visuals and their rhymes that you could laugh at some of that shit, you know what I mean? But it was, you know, they alcoholics, so the name spoke for itself. But where we at now, I mean, shit, man, you talking about Ad Soul, Kendrick, you know, there's a laundry list of dudes that are lyricists, are dope lyricists. I'd put them up against any MC lyricist from the East Coast, Midwest, down south, wherever. You know what I'm saying? You got some of the best young MCs right now, to me, lyrically, coming out of the West Coast. I mean, shit.
Yeah, I agree.
It's crazy. Flip-flop. Because now you got ASAP Rockies and these type dudes. They sound like them old Cali niggas and they dressing like Cali niggas. You know what I'm saying? But you got the Kendricks and them. They to me dress like rich white men. Just a t-shirt, some jeans, and some sneakers. I ain't got to put on all the crazy jewelry and the hip-hop fucking costume. Nah, man, I'm just a dude who raps. And that's the part I love about these Cali niggas, man. They've changed the narrative, yo, that you can be authentic and be who you are and not have to dress it up, you know what I'm saying, in this whole other bullshit. So it would be, like I said, it would be more about the narrative of West Coast, man, from an East Coast dude who's never been to Cali like that, you know what I mean? And on that scene that it's changed so dramatically and it's flipped. Cali got more love, I think, when they was doing the, you know, the NWA shit and they taking over shit and Suge was coming on the East Coast talking shit. You know, people got behind him because I think people just were tired of New York, you know, winning all the time with hip hop. But I think now is the most legitimate time, you know, for the West Coast to me, more so than back then. Because these dudes are lyricists, man. These dudes can spit. You know what I mean? I think that more than anything sticks out to me. You know what I mean? It's hard to put one singular moment. It would be more about the whole narrative of West Coast hip hop, how dramatically changed it is and how dope it is, man. And, you know, I give them tons of respect for that, man.
True. Yeah, for me, it's my favorite of probably West Coast hip hop. Whenever somebody says it, it always takes me back to 84, 85 with Breaking. You know what I mean? That was probably like my first introduction to West Coast hip hop because, you know, seeing Wild Style and B Street and then seeing Breaking, it was the first time I saw a completely different vibe of hip hop. You know, there was no subway trains, there was none of that. You know, these cats is breaking on the beach, they out on Venice Beach, you know, breaking and everything like that. And you know, I see an Ice-T rhyme for the first time. That's the first time I've ever seen Ice-T. You know what I mean? So that's always like my problem, my biggest memory of West Coast hip hop. You know, if you just say West Coast, I always automatically think first and foremost Breaking, because that was like Turbo out there with the damn the broom and everything outside the store and everything like that. Like yeah, that was like my thing, because that was my first thing to West Coast hip hop. Because you watch Breaking and you watch Beat Street, two totally different movies. You know what I mean? Same era, but two totally different movies. You know, totally. But it was. What's up?
I'm sorry. No, I'm saying I wish Vic was here, because I have a question about one thing. The thing I took from Breaking, Turbo to me was crazy. Like growing up in Mount Vernon, you know, I heard of like Crazy Legs and they whole crew. I forget what the name of the Rocksteady. Yeah, but you heard about Rocksteady crew. You know what I'm saying? When I was growing up, like, yo, these niggas is crazy nice with the breaking, and the popping, especially. Like, yo, these niggas is crazy. So when I saw Breaking, and I see this nigga with this Jerry curl with the headband, bandana around like a headband, like what the hell? And the nigga was nice. But then I seen all that graffiti. I'm like, yo, they graffiti is trash. Oh my God. And that was the one thing that pissed me off about Beat Street, that the nigga Ramo was the graffiti artist, but his graffiti was whack. The nigga was garbage, yo. I'm like, yo, there was a million other graffiti artists they could have used that was a bazillion times better than Ramo in fucking Beat Street. But that was the one thing that, I don't know how much Vic would know about it, but I'd be curious to see a graffiti artist take on that side of hip-hop back then from New York compared to Cali. Now, I'm not going to act like that was all the graffiti. I'm sure it wasn't, but...
Because, I mean, if you look at it now, some of the dope graffiti artists are out in Cali. Like, some of the dope...
Again, just coming from an East Coast kid, and all I have to go on is this movie, this representation. When I was young, like, oh my God, I hope that's not how all the graffiti looks in Cali. Because it's like, yo, I would go out there and be a god amongst these dudes, dog. And I wasn't a dope graffiti artist by no stretch. But that was the one thing I took from graffiti from my Breaking, besides Homeboy, man, Turbo, man. That nigga nice, man. Turbo.
All right, well, dope show. Hopefully everybody, can chime in with your favorite West Coast album, and chime in, let us know, do you, Kendrick, for Sean, who's your next dude who's up on the West Coast, slept on MC, who's the dopest producer? Leave us some comments on the YouTube page, whatever. To leave the show, I want to know what Cash think real quick just about this NWA movie. Because to be honest with you, when I heard about it, it was kind of like, a lot of times I feel like if I lived through that time, I don't need to see the movie because I lived through that time. You know what I mean? So it's like I was there when it happened, but I wasn't excited about it. But I saw that trailer, and that trailer looks fucking incredible. You know what I mean? Like it went from I don't want to see that movie to like, yo, when does that joint drop? Like I want to be there the first showing of that movie type thing. Ev, what do you think about the trailer, and how did you feel about coming into the movie?
So I got a question. What made you not want to see it when you first heard it?
I think because, like I said, I lived through it. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of like one of those things. Like I was there. Like I've read books that were written about NWA. I was reading Source. I saw the MTV Raps interview. I know why Cube left. Like it'd be different if like I'm 20 and I want to know like why did Cube leave the group and what did happen to DOC and what did happen? Where did it should come from?
You saw the trailer and you got influenced.
Well.
Yeah.
It's a movie. It's a movie. The vision was supposed to pull you in.
I should have known it was Here's the difference. The difference was I did not hear or see anything. You heard the song, saw something else, and became I didn't hear or see anything. I didn't know their sons was in the movie. I didn't know nothing. I just was like, I don't want to see the movie.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask you. Some of the actors, I'm about to say, is that true? Some of them are like these guys.
Their sons, yeah.
That's kind of ill. Because then, wow.
And the thing is, well, you asked me about that movie. At first I was like, NWA movie, because again, I wasn't a big NWA fan. But when I seen the trailer, I was like, yo, I gotta be there when that joint come out because it looks like they've spent good time on it. It looks like there's a good storyline. It's shot well. I think it's gonna be dope. And the fact that some of their sons are playing a roles and in the trailers, they look good. Like they could possibly be some good actors. So I think the shit might be dope.
What about you, Ben?
I mean, same here. It was like I heard about it, and I mean, I don't know if I had any like reservations. It was kind of like, okay, they're doing an NWA movie. I was kind of the same way you was, Kill. Like, granted, I wasn't in Cali, wasn't in the studios, in the meetings with all them, but I mean, they were so popular. So much of what was going on was so public. You know what I'm saying? To everybody, you ain't have to be from Cali to know about their story or whatever. So I wasn't really fazed. But then, the more I heard about it and started hearing, like, okay, so Cube is really the one doing this, and I mean. Yo, Cube is now a veteran actor, you know what I mean, and producer, of movies. You know what I'm saying? So that from that angle, okay, it's not gonna be some bullshit low budget Thicker Than Blood with Fat Joe and Mac 10 type nonsense. You know what I mean? It's gonna be a legitimate movie. And then when I saw the trailer, and it's like, okay, and Cube and Dre are really spearheading this, and they're really trying to tell easy story and all that. They're not out. There's no agendas, you know what I'm saying, in terms of trying to make that nigga look like he was the one. From what I can gather from the stuff I heard, and then seeing that trailer was like, this shit might really be dope. Word up. I had the same feeling like this might really, really be dope. See, I'm with y'all. I definitely want to see that. Definitely.
Not for nothing, my man F. Gary Gray is directing it. Who's directed one of my favorite movies, Set It Off. He did The Negotiator with Sam Jackson. So I think that definitely, is going to pull it together too. So another dope show, y'all. Appreciate it. West Coast Hip Hop. Yo, I even made a mixtape for it. Straight West Coast and some of my favorite West Coast hip hop. Go through willmakebeatsforfood.com. Grab it up.
A whole lot of alchemists.
Nah, matter of fact, I don't think there's.
I'm fucking with you.
Y'all remember that chick? Y'all remember a chick from she from Cali? She was signed to Def Jam West Coast. She was kind of light skinned chick, wore shades. She was pretty, but on some hard shit.
Boss.
She had the joint called Deeper.
Deep, there you go. I was trying to remember like
joint that Large Pro used. Yeah.
Okay, that was her name, Boss. I couldn't remember the damn name. It was killing me all day. That's it, Boss.
It's another dope show. Yo, leave us some comments. YouTube.com/live from the bench. Yo, for all the people out there, we try to set up joints now where, if you subscribe to the YouTube page, get at us. Live at the writers bench at gmail.com. We try to set up now where cats can sit down and chop it up with us. We're getting so much great feedback, and we all appreciate that. So shout us out at the email, shout us out on YouTube, shout us out on Twitter, whatever. And, sit down and chop it up with us. You know what I mean? So Just appreciate it. Always shout out to OK Player. They always showing us love. So most def, keep it locked. Evan Bezo, check y'all next week. All right.
All right.
All right. No doubt.
Peace.